here's the bottom line. I have been extremely vocal that I think the fans that do these celebration videos after meaningless wins, actually not meaningless, they're detrimental wins in a lost season. I think they're making asses of themselves. Doesn't mean I don't like them. Doesn't mean they don't do other good work. But in that moment, they're making asses of themselves. My friend Andy Isaac sat in the same chair you're in now, was actually featured in a video by the Detroit Lions on their own social media feed going nuts after a win. And I told him to his face, Andy, I love you. 97.3% of your content is good. That's higher than mine probably. But that 2.7% where you're doing cartwheels because the team pulled the 4-6 at the end of the season in a year that we all know is lost. If you have 2 brain cells, you know they're not going anywhere. And now you look, the way these things are shaking out now, and Ben, this is to his credit because he brought this up to me yesterday or 2 days ago. If the Lions had one more loss, if Ty Gurley just falls down like he was supposed to, and that when that everyone was celebrating, Hawkinson catches the pass in the end zone, everyone's thrilled. If they had lost that game, they'd be in a position to pick 3rd overall potentially in a few months. Mm-hmm. And instead, because of that win, the win that Isaac did a carnival dance, the one that Sam Day was jumping around in his living room, almost hit his head on the ceiling because he's so tall, that win was detrimental. I said it at the time. Whoever runs your Twitter feed, I don't know if they were calling me out. I'm very sensitive, so I take everything like it was an attack on me. But after one of those wins said, oh, who's poo-pooing the Lions now? I raised my hand. It's me. I'm still saying it's bad that they won. Tell me why I'm wrong or if I'm wrong. Aren't those wins just detrimental? Why don't they piss you off? Because I want the Lions to do well, and I think those wins are detrimental. I want the third overall pick.
There's a lot to understand about draft positioning. Usually when you're in the top 2, top 3, you take a quarterback, typically. But having said that, I don't think the NFL operates how the NBA and the NHL works, where you draft a LeBron, you're gold for 10 years. You draft Connor McDavid, you're gold for 10 years. You draft Sidney Crosby, you're gold for 10, 15 years. In the NFL, it's a 53-man roster. So my take is I don't celebrate when we're 4-11 and we win the last game of the season. I'm not celebrating, and I'm not pissed off that we won. I'm just, the season is lost. My focus is what are we going to do in the offseason. I'm a firm believer it's not where you pick, it's who you pick. We took Ebron over Aaron Donald. I can go back like 10, 15 years of just drafts that we completely missed on players. Hindsight 2020, but the point is, it's not where, it's who. In the last 20 Super Bowls, 16 of them were represented by 3rd-round picks or later at the quarterback position.
That's an interesting
There are only
stat.
4 that had head-to-head 1st or 2nd-round matchup. And I feel like history says a lot about the way you build your team. So I don't think we need to take Matthew Stafford at 1 to have a successful 10, 15 years. But if the quarterback is there, you take him if you think he's the guy. Look what the Bears did. They traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, oops.
So when you but in their
Mahomes,
defense, when you're sitting in that GM chair and that's your guy, you fucking get him at any cost if you think he's the guy.
I agree with that.
So why I don't worry about where we pick is because we need to know what are we building. We need a roster overhaul. Bob Quinn and Martha at the time, coming out and saying we need better than 9 and 7 was detrimental to our future. That statement alone is why we ended up with Okudah at 3 instead of trading back, gaining draft capital, and I don't care who we drafted. Isaiah Simmons, I don't care if we traded back to 20. I don't give a shit. The fact that we set ourselves up for failure that way was very frustrating to me. We ended up taking a cornerback. There's no cornerback in my lifetime other than Champ Bailey and Deion Sanders that were deserving of a top 3 pick. So how the fuck are we taking Jeff Okudah with that pick?
I agree.
I'm happy he's here. Whatever, cool.
I'm not.
I hope.
Why?
I hope he
did
because we can't get rid of him. So he's here. I just hope he develops into a very good corner.
He's one of the worst players in the NFL objectively by Pro Football Focus.
He had a few good weeks by Pro Football Focus. He was like top 3 for I believe a 3-week stretch, and then he got hurt. In the beginning, he was getting torched.
No, I mean his
beginning,
final score.
Well, yeah, he hasn't played much, and when he has played, he's gotten romped. But
he's not in the top 100. There's only like 125 eligible guys.
But that's where like the whole point of it's not where, it's who. We had the 3rd overall pick in the draft. We took a goddamn cornerback.
No, you're not wrong, but in the history of the NFL, if you want to talk about history, has anyone ever even pondered accepting, hey, I have the 7th overall pick. You want to trade me straight up for number 3?
No, you get future picks, of course. I mean,
if you do that, because the 3rd overall pick is a
valuable
better asset. I'm not saying if I have the 3rd overall pick,
to a team that needs a quarterback.
This team does. But I don't care whether you need a quarterback or not. I'll always take the 3rd overall pick over the 7th, and anybody would. So it's not about. I think it's a straw man that some people do.
It's a balance. Yeah.
It's not a balance.
I agree
it's very clear.
No. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but you have to understand. At 3, again, hindsight 2020. But there are 2 quarterbacks available. There's Tua and there's Justin Herbert. The organization made the wrong decision and did not trade back. Not only could they have traded back and still gotten Herbert or Tua, they could have traded back realistically, had more draft capital, could have gotten DeAndre Swift and maybe another player in the 2nd round that is much more talented, maybe even a Patrick Queen. You could have leveraged those 2 picks and traded up in the 1st round. A million scenarios I could go through, but it's about who's making the decision. That's really it. I trust the Chiefs GM. I trust the Colts. I trust the Ravens. I trust the Steelers because they're not relying on the top 5 picks. They're drafting 18 to 30 every single season, and they're making it happen. And they're making shit happen in the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th round. And in the NFL, that's where the magic is. If we think and I don't want to say tanking, but if we think being a top 5 pick every year is going to do us any good, look at the Jets. They're about to draft another quarterback, and it's not even their quarterback's fault.
I know.
I mean,
look,
I think there's a balance. I don't think it's either one. I really do. You have to understand. You have to make the right decisions, and it's so easy to be wrong. But my opinion of a top 5 pick is they better be either 5-time Pro Bowler. And if they're top 3, they got to be a fucking Hall of Famer.
So I'll make it, from my perspective, as simple as I can phrase it. Will you agree the 3rd overall pick is better than the 7th overall pick?
Oh, of course. No, okay. Of course.
Do you agree that 4-12 and 5-11 are both shit seasons that no one cares about?
Yes, and I'd rather be 4-12.
Okay, so
because of draft capital.
Why would anyone celebrate one of the 5 wins in a shitty season?
That's the thing. I don't agree with the celebrating part. Okay. That I'm on board with.
Oh, okay.
I think it's very stupid. But
it doesn't bother you as much as it bothers me.
It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you because I really believe that it's who you pick, not where.
And you have a wife. But you're not as crazy as I am.
But I also prefer to have higher draft capital. I can leverage it.
I agree.
And we don't leverage our draft capital. We never leveraged having the 3rd or the 5th or the 7th. Hawkinson at 8 looks like a good choice right now. It looks like it's working out. He'll probably be a 6-7-time Pro Bowler if he stays healthy. So I can't be mad at that. But Ebron, Goddard, I mean, I don't want to go on the list.
If you ever see me, I just say, let me finish with that. If you ever see me recording myself in a terrible Lions season as they kick a field goal, just get that rifle out and end it.
Before you go to another tab, please like, subscribe, and follow for more clips and highlights. Good? Okay.
See, beautiful. That's a natural at work.